time allotted for each team is 20 minutes. Okay, and as I have cleared with you yesterday, if you are presenting a writing work, you have to take a printout and circulate it to the jury, as well as read it out here in the time given to you. If you have an audio clip, I hope you have already shared here with Mr. Asif, right? And if you have a video clip, you can bring it in a pen drive and play here, okay? But make sure you do not exceed your time. That's 20 minutes. Try to finish off by 15 minutes and keep at least some time for question and answers, right? Thank you. Without further delay, I request the juries to take the first row and video ella haktare alva. It was not suggested, so yeah.
Good morning, everybody. We are team 4, Rishika, Pankti, Priyanshu, Shireen, and Soumya. Okay. So we made a mini documentary and a newsletter. The newsletter is hopefully distributed among all the jury members. So when we thought about the pandemic, apart from all these struggles, the one thing that we noticed was the negative impacts that we all had. We talked about our time attentions getting reduced, our time span getting reduced, and we talked about consuming media. So we thought, we all got addicted to our phones, right? So we ran this experiment where we tried seeing if grayscaling our phones would actually help us get not get distracted by mobile phones and get hooked to it all the time. So we'll play this mini documentary that hopefully captures the idea that grayscaling pictures or the phone will help reduce your interest in using mobile phones, which could hopefully reduce our addiction to it. So Priyanshu will take over and explain the first article in the newsletter that is one of the few literature reviews that we read to. about the topic.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to also point out that we use multiple forms of media for this assignment. We have written material, which is in your hands. We showed you a video. And if you scan the QR code on the newsletter there, we have translated and summarized all the three articles that we have into Kannada and Tamil. So as Rishika pointed out before, smartphones have become such a huge part of our lives, and everyone's trying to reduce their screen time. And if I looked at my screen time yesterday, and it was 5 hours, 30 minutes, and there was still 1 hour to go for the day. So this study, which I look at, it's called Color Me Calm, Grayscale Phone Setting Reduces Anxiety and Problematic Smartphone Use. So the study focuses on 4 different aspects: problematic smartphone use, screen time, anxiety, and depression. First, let me explain what grayscaling is. In the digital world, grayscaling means that the value of each pixel is represented only by the intensity of the light. So basically what that means is each picture is only represented in these 3 colors: black, white, or different shades of gray. So our study done previously to this also found out that using grayscale for a week reduces your phone usage by 37.9 minutes. Let's also look at how colors in smartphones are used to make us get hooked onto our phones and spend more of our time on them. This is what digital artists do also. They play with colors so that we can be more engaged and be more interested in whatever we look at in our phones. So the study found out, the study was conducted on 133 American college students, out of which 62 were told to change their phone settings to grayscale and keep it that way for 2 weeks until the second session happened. It was found out that the screen time was reduced drastically. Anxiety, although not reduced clinically, it still was a significant difference. And problematic smartphone usage also was reduced. Some aspects, though, like listening to music, which does not require visual representation, remain the same. And otherwise, participants looked at their phone constantly because they heard the notification sound, which is also not a visual mode of it's mostly auditory. So yeah, that was also I'd like to point out the picture we have on our first page. There's one half of it is color and one half is black white. And if you look on the right side, there's a screen of a smartphone. We deliberately made it black and white so that it does not look appealing, which is the entire point of grayscale. Now Soumya will take over and talk to you about the second article.
Hello, everyone. Your screen time is 5 hours. Mine was 6 hours yesterday. And okay, so the second literature review, can we have it on the, yeah. The second literature review was conducted by these 3 authors, Myers Elijah, Trace E.T., and Kane Jeff. The study was titled Student Experiences with an Intervention Utilizing the Salience Principle to Reduce Psychological Attraction to Smartphones. It was conducted in 2021. It aimed to determine potential effects that smartphones have on the well-being of pharmacy students, the reactions and experiences of the students to an intervention that was based upon the salience principle were recorded. This intervention sought to reduce psychological attraction and attention to smartphones. What was this intervention, you may wonder? The study's method was a simple one. For a period of 3 weeks, participants were to follow certain directions. They were to change their smartphone's color, setting to grayscale mode, turn off all social media notifications, remove social media icons from smartphone's home screen, and place their mobile devices away from their beds when they were sleeping. For data collection of resulting experience, students were asked to record any positive, negative changes that came about their life because they were following these directions. This was done through an open-ended, anonymous survey question. So 181 students had initially participated in the study. However, 8 responses were removed from the analysis because participants indicated that they did not complete all requirements for the challenge. Therefore, the sample size was 173 students. The average age of these students was 25, and 67% of these pharmacy students were female. The thematic analysis of the survey responses brought out 20 unique themes. Some of these themes are: smartphone usage was decreased, grayscale reduced allure to use your smartphone, social media use was decreased, productivity was increased, attachment to phone was decreased, and sleep was improved. These are some of the 20 unique themes that the results brought about. 5 of these themes were expressed in 25% or more responses, and 8 were expressed in 10 to 24% of responses. So student reactions to this experience was, this intervention was mostly positive. The themes expressed that participants experienced several benefits with regard to time, productivity, sleep, interpersonal communication, and general well-being. Thus, simple changes to smartphone settings and placements at night may produce positive outcomes for those who want to reduce time spent on smartphones. There's this other there's this other paper that looked at the influence of color on memory performance. It was performed by Zulkifli and Mustafa MF in 2013. So it highlighted this relationship between colors, attention, and memory performance. Color has been found to influence memory performance by increasing our attentional level and arousal. Arousal can play an essential role in keeping the information in the memory system. Thus, colors can enhance the relationship between arousal and memory. Now, Shireen will share her literature reviews.
Hi everyone, so nice to speak to you all this morning. So my literature review was focused basically on the color. So what I started with is, all of us have an instant reaction to different colors, right? Brighter colors. So that's what I started my experiment with. So as you can see, our phones are designed in a way that the brightest color catches your eye immediately, right? So every day, our lives are just a series of what we condition ourselves to do. So if you can notice, if you find the color blue relaxing, then you look at your phone and you'll open the first app with the color blue on it, right, naturally. And if you can see around the applications designed around us, most food apps are red in colored. So if you're conditioned to eating at restaurants with a red logo, you're conditioning yourself to feel hunger as soon as you see the color red. And what this does to your brain is it kicks in this chemical called dopamine, because you're happy, you know, when you want to eat. When you want to do something you like, you're happy. And it kicks in that immediately. So that's what your phone does when you look at these bright colors. And how this produces anxiety, as Priyanshu pointed out, is that sometimes you don't get the results you want, right? You could be waiting for a text from a friend. The friend would not show up and you're sad. And that produces like adrenaline and a lot of these stress hormones that we have in our brains. So what happens then is you're always living in a state of anxiety. You don't know what to do when. So the primary thing we go back to as human beings is we switch our attention, right? We don't like something, we look at something else. So that's what we do on our phones. We don't like Facebook, we go to Instagram. We don't like YouTube, we go somewhere else. And what we do in that process is hinder what our ancestors have mastered, the art of concentration, right? Human beings are an unusual species. We've mastered this art of concentration so well that no other animal can do it. So we can directly focus on one thing while cutting off the other thing. Like if I'm reading a book, I will not hear what you're saying around, right? So what this does is, when I'm switching over to things and not concentrating on them at all, I'm just scanning these things. I'm doom scrolling, right? That's the scientific term used. It's called doom scrolling, because I'm not focusing. And what happens when I'm not focusing, right? I'm not paying attention to anything, my attention span decreases. And this is an evolutionary response, as scientists say, because where our ancestors did not just survive on hunter-gatherer skills, right? We always had to be alert. We had to look at things, look at sounds, and just the simple ting your phone gives, right? When you send a message, it produces an effect in your this thing. And grayscaling can do this wonderful thing that you don't have to react to the colors in your phone anymore. It doesn't have to cause anxiety for you. You don't have to think about the assignment you have to submit and so on. So I think the time to grayscale your phones is now more than ever, because the past 2 years, the pandemic, we all know, we've all been binge watchers, binge Facebook uploaders, binge tweeters, all of that. So the time is now, because I think we'd all agree that our lives are better lived outside a screen than inside, right? So that's what I wanted to say, and thank you all for giving us this opportunity. Please scan the QR code. We've summarized all of our articles in Kannada. If we had more time, we would have translated it, but due to the lack of time, we could not. But thank you so much for listening to us, for giving this opportunity. Thank you all. Does anyone have any questions, if we have enough time? Okay.
Thanks for the good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
When did you shoot this video?
So we've shot it over a period of 2 days. So yesterday and the day before that.
Okay. And when did you select the project?
Yesterday morning, actually.
Yesterday morning you selected the project. Okay. Then did you do any literature survey for
Yes,
this?
I've done several citations, which all are shared in the QR code.
Okay.
So you can check them, you can clarify them. We've all fact-checked them. We wouldn't present them otherwise, of course.
Yeah,
Our citations are also mentioned on our newsletter. So it's on the APA format. You can just see right below it.
okay. I mean, we don't propose to do that because we are more interested in what you are going to present, and you have made a good presentation, even though there are some points which we will discuss at a later point of time. Specifically, you are saying that you decided on this project after you came here for this particular workshop, and within the short span of 2 days, you have been able to collect all this information and do this one, okay? Good, it's a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I have one question, not on your presentation, but on your participation in the last 2 days. Dr. H.R. Krishnamurthy spoke to us. When he spoke, he told about certain challenges. Can you name one of the challenges faced when we started writing some 50 years ago?
I remember he said that y'all didn't have information sources to go back on. Scientists wouldn't give it to you. The word he used was paucity, right? So fortunately, we are the generation that has information in abundance, but we're also tasked with fact-checking them, which we're all thoroughly done.
Thank you.
It's a participant question. Yeah. They can ask. This is open for
Sure, sir.
Does not affect the review. So that is over. Yes, sir. So I have one major concern.
Okay.
Does screen time is equal to jail time? Why it is so?
So
And it does not speak anything in your write-up.
okay, the reason I use that is it's a metaphor, right? We're all chained to our phones. If you walk around you, if you walk outside this room, even in this room, in fact, there are people in the back row using their phones, right? Sorry, I mean, I didn't mean to.
See, this is called, in communication psychology, this is called eyeball catching.
Okay.
But the problem is that if you are using anything for eyeball catching, so I have two things, like Professor Kamala said, in one of my group is focusing on psychology of communication. So when you are using this, if it is not connected with the text or the information you are giving, you bring the disappointment, which you were talking about earlier. Because people get attracted to the terms, then they start to read, and they don't get anything.
If I can answer to your question. So the reason.
See, one more point. When you publish something, you don't get the chance to explain it again. So keep that in mind. I'm talking from the side of a communicator.
Of course, I respect your response, but I would also like to respond to it. So the reason we put that caption is that as journalism students, we're taught that the first line matters the most, right? You draw your audience in through that. The reason I use jail time is that in jail you don't have anywhere else to go, right? And often when you use your phone, because you have so many places to go on your phone, you like kind of grayscale the rest of the world, if I may say so. So it's not very practical, it's more of a metaphor really, the caption. And I think readers are rational enough to understand that while they read it.
Everybody you cannot expect to be rational or think like you. That is one of the biggest issues in the communication. So Bernard Shaw has said it rightly, that we think that he knows. And we start communicating and we end up in a fail. So be careful about eyeball catching things like this. This is called clickbaits in
Yes.
standard internet-based communication.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yeah, good morning. It was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
I had two questions. So the first one is, what is the age demographic you focused on for the review of literature?
Okay, so the first two articles focusing on demographics were Priyanshu and Soumya, so I think they'll better answer your question.
The study I focus on took, I mentioned it, American college students as a demographic.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was pre-pandemic, right?
This is pre-pandemic.
So,
No, sorry, it was in 2020, so it was during the pandemic.
During the pandemic.
Yeah.
So the concern what I found was, when we were talking about technology, the rural background of India, they couldn't get access to the phones and to go online.
Obviously.
So that is one. And the second question I wanted to ask was for the color thing. You guys were talking about the resolution, the red color, everything. So that literature spoke on 2013, the literature.
Okay.
Back then, the mobile resolution was very less. Now, if you see the phones, it comes like 4K coloring. Now, what would the difference it makes back then, and if the same experiment had been conducted now? And when you were talking about the coloring, when we go to any restaurant where red color is there predominantly, that is all the subjects are there at one place, and then it might changes. But when it comes to the phone, each color combination, it changes. So while doing literature, did you see about all this? Like what was the timeline, or how far that it would affect your studies?
Okay, I think the first question was on rural India, right? We tried finding India-specific journals that answer this question, but there wasn't any research, presently done research. So, and I think this newsletter particularly pertains to people who use phones a lot for work, for school, for daily modes of communication. And go ahead.
Also, like there are 749 million internet users in India, just as of 2020. So I'm sure that doubled when 2021 rolled up with another wave of lockdown. Yeah, I'm sure about these statistics. Also, the main aim of our documentary was shooting the Indian audience. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
The next contestant is Harni B from Bangalore University. She is a PhD scholar.
Dear all, today we are going to
Good morning, all. So I'm Harini. I'm a research scholar from Bangalore University. So today there is no papers. There's no actual analysis that I'm trying to do over here. So from past 2 days, I came in like yesterday evening or so. So I'm like on and off with my injury, I guess so. But that's not a reason for me not to give a presentation. So I said, why not? I said, Altaf, can I do it? Because I really want to do it, at least to ward off my fear or etc. Or let's do this despite whatever the physical harm may be. And to the jury, to the faculty members, and to fellow scholars as well as the students, it's a warm welcome that we have received over here, and such a great opportunity for us to present anything under any platform, under any medium, at least to present how much we have understood. So I thank National College for doing this, and the organizers as well for their heart and soul that they've put into the amount of 3 days of work that they have done. And guys, what a presentation. You give me goosebumps now. Now I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do? All right? Okay, so here there is this presentation of mine. I call it uncut because it is uncut from any editing sources. It is uncut from any voice modulation, but it is just gone on live for just 10 minutes. I just wanted to try and explain how with limited resources, with 10% battery time, how much can we still communicate and help communication further in terms of science. So here it is a small audio recording, which I can even convert as a podcast, like how a child or a housewife would understand science communication or any nuances of science. So could you please play for me?
Dear all, today we are going to see what is the understanding of science in a child's perspective or towards a housewife's perspective as well. So I'm going to interview a couple of people, or probably a few more, on how they understand few small scientific terms, or rather I would say the terms that we hear almost in an everyday life. So I'm meeting Master Yatharth. He is a child of 5-year-old studying in Delhi Public School. Hi Yatharth.
Hi, my name is Yatharth.
And you're from which school?
From DPS, Delhi Public School.
Thank you, Yatharth, for joining us today. I wanted to know, what do you mean by oxygen?
Air.
Oxygen is air to you?
Yes.
What will happen if you do not have oxygen?
We died.
You die. Wow. So human beings require oxygen?
Yes.
Do you think the dogs require oxygen?
No.
Oh, you require only people like you and me require oxygen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so how, if at all you're running short of oxygen, how do you get it?
Doctor gave oxygen mask.
Doctor gives you oxygen mask?
Yes.
And from oxygen mask, how does oxygen come?
Oxygen cylinder.
Wow. So oxygen cylinder gives out oxygen to oxygen mask, and if you wear it, you get more oxygen.
Yes.
Nice. How other ways can you get oxygen, Yatharth?
Trees.
So you get oxygen just like that, or you should plant them?
We want to plant them.
Okay. Can you say a bit more how you do it?
Mm, First, we want to keep empty pot in anywhere up or terrace or ground, and we just keep some uh, some uh, some some
Tell whatever you understand.
we put some orange powder.
Orange powder. You mean to say mud?
Yes,
Okay.
some mud.
Okay.
And
The red one.
the red.
Yeah, got it, got it.
And that we want to put some anyone. We want to chop a tree and put in the pot.
You'll chop the tree and then you put in the pot.
And we want to put some. It's want to become up. No, that's why we want to put some water to him.
Wow, nice. What is the noise outside, Yatharth?
Well, that's a rain sound.
Trees give me so air.
Wow, it's raining outside, isn't it?
Yes.
Does rain have oxygen in it?
No. Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Does water have oxygen in it?
Yes.
Why do you say yes?
It's too cold.
No. Okay, I'll close the window. So does water have oxygen?
Yes.
Why?
Because we want oxygen. H2O.
Okay. So what is H?
Hydrogen.
Okay. Thank you, Yatharth. Thank you for your...
All right, so we saw, we at least listened to how a 5-year-old understands what an oxygen is. And the person who's interviewing, which of course is me, so we made use, as a communicator, we tried to make use of the rain that happened yesterday. It rained yesterday, last night. So at that moment, I think I took the cues from Sumangli ma'am, what she said, that you use doors, windows, etc., on how to make noises as a background. So when you do not have a power, and there's 10% battery, and you can record max to max, like about 10 minutes, the elements that we tried to use was all natural elements, and the child's understanding of how he understood an oxygen is. So child was not given any cues at all, and he understood or he spoke about what his understanding of oxygen was. Basically, he understood colors, so he did not know how to say mud. He ended up saying, pink color instead of red maybe. And we also saw how the interviewee is also trying to put words, right? Sometimes kids require help in order to associate with their understanding, but sometimes they're very playful. When you keep a mobile phone and then, you try to get bites from them or vox pops from them, they keep swapping around. Okay, so their attention span that we were talking about was also less, but you have to divert them to nature, again ask questions that is more interesting to them. Now we go forward with how a housewife understands certain terminologies as well.
Understanding of oxygen.
Okay.
Can I meet your grandmother as well?
Okay.
What's her name?
Lakshmi Devi's she's full name.
It's her full name. Okay. Wait, let's go and meet your grandmother.
Okay.
ಹೌಸ್ ವೈಫು.
ಮೇಡಮ್, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೇನು?
ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಉಸಿರಾಟ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು.
ಆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಏನೇನು ಇರಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಯಾವುದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಸಿಗ್ಬೋದು?
ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗಾಳಿಯಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಗಾಳಿಯಿಂದ.
ಈಗ ದಿನ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಮನೇಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಎಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಲ್ಲ, ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಹೊಗೆ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸಾರಿ ಸುಟ್ಟು ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದಲ್ವಾ? ಇವಾಗ ಲೇಡೀಸ್ ಸ್ಯಾನಿಟ್ರಿ ನ್ಯಾಪ್ಕಿನ್ಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಅದನ್ನು ಸುಟ್ಟು ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ಹಜಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗಲ್ವಾ?
ಅದರಿಂದ ಭಾಳ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಲಂಗ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ಗೆ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಮೇಯ್ನು ಲಂಗ್ಸಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ತೊಂದರೆ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ ಅದು. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಕವರೇ ಆಗಲಿ, ಈ ಥರ ಪ್ಯಾಡ್ಗಳಾದ್ರೂ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಸುಟ್ಟಾಕೋ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು. ಅದು ಸುಟ್ಟಾಕಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಜನ ಇರೋ ಕಡೆ ಆ ಹೊಗೆ ಅಕ್ಕಪಕ್ಕ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗದೇ ಇರೋಂಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
ಮೇಡಮ್, ನೀವು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಬಳಕೆ ಮನೇಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಬಳಕೆಯಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲೋ ಬಿಸಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ನೀರು, ಕುಡಿಯೋ ನೀರು ಕಡೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಸಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಬರೋ ನೀರುಗಳು ಕಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. ಭಾಳನೇ ಕವರಿಂದ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲಿಗಾರ ಅಂಗಡಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡೋಗ್ತೀವಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಸ್ಕೆಟ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾವು ಕವರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂಗಡಿಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಕವರ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಬಿಡು ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆ ನೆಗ್ಲಿಜೆನ್ಸ್ ನಮಗಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋದ್ರೂ ನಾವು ಕೈ ಚೀಲ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾನು ಇಬ್ಬರೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದ್ರೂ ನಾವು ಸ್ಕೂಟ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಡಿಕ್ಕಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾವು ಹೋಗುವಾಗಲೂ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಒಂದು 2 ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿಗೆ. ಏನೋ ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಇದಿದ್ದರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು. ಯಾರೇ ಆಗಲಿ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲೇ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೋದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಕೈ ಚೀಲ. ಎಲ್ಲೋದ್ರೂ ಅದೇನು ಭಾರ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ, ಗಾಡಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬೋದು. ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಏನು ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದಷ್ಟು ಈ ಥರ ಕವರ್ ಬಳಸದೆ ಈ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ತುಂಬ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು.
ನೀವು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಎಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಆಯಿತು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ?
ನಾವು ಸುಮಾರು ನಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿದಾಗ ಒಂದು 10 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ನಾವು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಷ್ಟಿದಾಗಿ.
ನೀವು ದಿಢೀರಂತ 10 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಬಳಕೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಕಾರಣಗಳಿದೆಯಾ?
ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣಗಳಂದರೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾದ ಮೇಲೆ.
ಹೇಳಿ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್, ಸಾರಿ ಕಟ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಹೇಳಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸರಿ.
ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಾಗಿ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಕವರಿಂದ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಮನೆ ಕ್ಯಾರ್ಪುರ ಮೇಲೆ ಮನೇಲಿದ್ದು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ಗ್ರೌಂಡು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕಸ ಹಾಕೋರು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಕವರ್ಗಳು. ಪಾಪ ಹಸುಗಳು ಬಂದು ಅದನ್ನೇ ತಿಂತಾಯಿತ್ತು. ಅದನ್ನು ತಿಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಹಸು ಹಾಲು ತೊಗೊಳ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ಯಾಕೆಟ್ ಹಾಲಷ್ಟು ಬಳಸದೆ ಈ ಹಸು ಹಾಲೇ ಬೇಕು ನಮ್ಮ ಮಗು ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಹಸು ಪಾಪ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಕವರ್, ಸುಮಾರು ಹಸುಗಳು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋದು, ಆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಕವರೆಲ್ಲ ತಿನ್ನೋದು. ಅದರಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂಥರ ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ತು, ಈ ಕವರ್ ಹಸುಗಳು ತಿಂದು ಅದರಿಂದ ಹಾಲು ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಳಿಗೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ? ಆದ್ರೂ ಯಾರ ಮಗು ಆದರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಒಂದೇ. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪಾಪಗೆ ಒಂಥರ ಲೂಸ್ ಮೋಷನು ಆ ಥರ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಆಯಿತು. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಆವಾಗಲಿಂದ ಸುಮಾರು ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಈ ಥರ ನಾವುಗಳೇ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಕವರ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಆ ಹಸುಗೂ ತೊಂದರೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಳಿಗೆ ಅದರಿಂದ ಹಾಲು ತೊಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು. ಆದಷ್ಟು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಕವರು ಬಿಸಾಡೋದೇ ಆಗಲಿ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಆಗಲಿ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನು ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ತುಂಬ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು.
Alright, so we also heard a housewife's version about how she excluded plastic because her grandchild was also affected with the milk that was consumed from cows that feed upon plastics as well. And apparently, which I knew personally about the family as well, the child was also hospitalized for acute diarrhea as well. All right, so now she made it a point that in her entire building, people do not use plastics. They try to have their own compost within the backyard of the houses. So these examples were taken about, like the 2 interviews that was done was about 10 p.m. last night, so I would say. So this was to say that, even if you have limited resources, how well you can try to, do a small podcast and then probably add upon a small music, etc. with it and still run about it and create that interest. So that was about my presentation, how with limited resources that we can still try to communicate. Thank you. The questions are open, please.
Is awareness towards plastic. A little bit of element of science was required. Hope I am right, sir? HRK sir.
So there are other two people, ma'am, which we interviewed, which we haven't put in this, because they're not ready to come on the record. But the other two women who also said that, you know, whenever people also do parties, it's about the elements that they always get choking hazards, etc.
It's okay. When see, we cannot expect housewife to give the signs of it. So they said, ಇದು ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಏನೋ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನೀರೆಲ್ಲ ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕಲುಷಿತವಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಇಂಟರ್ವ್ಯೂನ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಕಲುಷಿತ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಕೆಮಿಕಲು ಹೇಗೆ ಅದು ಹಾರ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಹಿಂಗಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಆಸ್ ಎ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ನೀವು ಎಂಟರ್ ಆದಾಗ ಡೆಲಿವರಿ ಬಂದಾಗ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಡೆಲಿವರಿ ಈಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಜನರಲ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ನಾರ್ಮಲಿ ಸೊ ದ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟೆಡ್.
Sure, thank you. I'll take that input.
I request the audience to wait till the jury has their questions and then they can have this one, etc. Harini, thank you very much for a good presentation. I would like to know what was your basic idea in recording these two interviews. What did you have in mind?
So I wanted to say how a child understands and how a housewife understands. And based on that, how a podcast, I mean, what are the challenges of the communicator in order to make it understanding for such an audience. So that is what I wanted to bring out. So like yesterday when ma'am spoke about the radio conversation also, so I wanted to speak to the audience today that how for a communicator it gets difficult, because you've seen when we spoke to the child said yes, 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 and then suddenly no, 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 no. So how are we going to capture that?
But when you had your preparation for this particular thing, you expressed that you decided suddenly to go ahead with this particular thing.
Right.
We appreciate that. But what is the basic point that was in your mind to have a science journalistic approach for recording these two interviews of S1?
So I wanted to also bring out, like in the further this thing also, that you know what exactly is oxygen, and for kids how we can speak about it, and then about the usage of plastics. That was one.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ತುಂಬ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು. ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಥಮವಾಗಿ 5 ವರ್ಷದ ಮಗುವನ್ನು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣಗಳೇನು? ಬಹುಶಃ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಮತ್ತು ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನದ ಮೂಲಭೂತವಾದ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಗೋದು 3ನೇ ತರಗತಿಯ ನಂತರ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ 5 ವರ್ಷದ ಮಗುವನ್ನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣಗಳು ಏನು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ತೇನೆ.
So today, the pediatricians whom I had also interviewed, for a couple of them, I'm doing my research under health communication. Of course, I can't like spell out the entire topic in the forum. But when we spoke about pediatrics, they also said that 400 words per day, kids between the age group of 3 to 5 can, you know, immediately catch up. So this particular child and the other 3-4 kids that I have come across, they are able to even spell out one adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita. So that's the amount of knowledge they have. So I wanted to know how much of science knowledge can be tapped between that particular age group as well. So that was my idea. And if you look at it, it is not that the kids are completely lame also. They have some amount of knowledge to it. So today's kids are like actually getting much more forward. And this boy whom I asked is able to spell out at least 15 to 18 elements from the periodic table. So that was one. And I have also come across 2-3 kids of that age group who are able to read phonetically the market research by Philip Kotler. I have the video of it as well, the child reading of Philip Kotler. So based on that is when I thought, okay, why not, you know, just choose, at least try to understand as per science how much they're able to do it. Because now kids are not reading ABCD like now Oditara. They're doing an Alba Kardama, you know, in more of phonetic nature. And they're able to catch much more words. And the child also reads encyclopedia as well. So it's not one prodigy that I've picked up. There are other kids also who are from that age group I've seen the entire, because I see their online class sessions, etc. happening. And I see them questioning quite a lot amount. They say why burgers are not required. And they say what chemicals are. They speak about MSG. And I say, okay, what is MSG? Because I was under the understanding that, okay, MSG means these kids will not know. And they were so clear in telling that it's monosaccharides, no, at least whatever they understand with that particular terminology or phonetically how much they have understood, they're able to tell that. And next question, if you ask, okay, how much do you understand of that? They're like, no, it's a chemical that gives taste, and it is also a chemical that damages you. So not exactly the technical terms, but they're able to understand it. So that was the reason. So, yeah.
Harini, is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Harini, you started very well, and we were all quite curious to know what would be the perception of a 5-year-old child about the oxygen, and you brought it out quite well. But subsequently, you lost your focus. You shifted to the housewife. Now, we were wondering why you moved away from oxygen, started asking about the plastic. Now, we wanted to know what was the perception of the housewife also about the plastic. Let me complete.
So this was
let me complete. Now, if you had stuck to the same concept of oxygen and elicited the answers from, now we were just curious. We were all wondering what she would say. And no, because you moved away and the whole focus became widespread and diluted. Now, was there any specific purpose why you didn't ask her?
So oxygen, when we spoke, she said gali and then usrata, if you had heard that. So after
definitely
that,
I have heard.
Yeah. So yeah. The thing is, the whole idea was to know how much day-to-day usage of science that a family uses, because podcasts are not for only one age group. So even podcast or radio programs, it's for the whole house. Like a woman would be working in the kitchen, and the radio is on the table, and maybe the Saregama Carvan of these days is on a cable with an FM. So most of the retired group also they've been gifted with Saregama Carvan like anything. So I just wanted to understand as a child how much he can do it, and as a housewife how can she do it for running a podcast program as well. That's all. Thank you. Any more questions? So this was like basically a sampling, trying to take like if at all we run a podcast radio, what are the challenges faced and how we can combat that.
Harini, as a PhD student, when you do something, you have to make sure that their quality is there.
So this was not paper.
Yeah, because once you say, because you are competing in a heterogeneous crowd. I'm not a jury member, but I'm just, as an outsider, I'm speaking. So from the view of a science communicator, if you say, one of the major element you have to think about when you communicate is the comprehensibility of what you are speaking.
Right.
Like Sir said, when you start with oxygen, we all start to think about that. And suddenly moving to something which is not connected with this, what happened that there is a term again in media psychology you may know called aha effect. So until and unless if your the piece of work which you have done don't generate that aha effect, what happened that people forget it very easily. And you don't be able to get the target you were aiming to achieve, that is the communication which affects somebody's mind.
Sure, sir.
So one thing is you need to be a little bit more comprehend. Other things I like that FM radio mode where you add background and all that, that works. But you should have focused on one topic.
Right, sure, sir.
So when the problem with which I'm seeing when I discuss with students about science communication is that they believe science as a single thing. It's not. You know what, even when scientists start to discuss, biologists and physicists, when they start to talk about one subject, it may be totally different. Correct?
Right.
Take the case of the example cell.
Right.
Cell for a physicist, cell for a chemist, cell for a biologist, cell for a policeman, everything is different. So you have to be careful about the topic you choose and the comprehensibility of that topic.
Right. That's what, like, I think yesterday ma'am was saying, when a humanities person ends up doing a science project, so we will take these things into consideration, sir. Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Check. Next, team 1.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Today, actually, we are going to present something on a very simple issue that everybody of us face in our everyday lives, and we see other people, how they are facing these issues, how we go through it, how we experience it. I mean, when we were having moral educations, when we were kids, everybody of us told was anger is a short madness. Anger is bad for your health. It's unhealthy. It makes your relationship grow apart. It helps, it affects you. It affects your physical health, your mental health, your social well-being, and everything. But do you really think that anger is unhealthy? No. The answer is obvious no. Anger is as healthy expression as any other emotion that we experience. So, is it a myth that anger is bad? Yes, it's a myth. Relieving your anger is really, really important, and everybody of you should know that anger is actually good, that you should express it. It is a misconception that people have that anger is bad and harmful. It is an important emotion, as important as happiness. People call anger as an ugly, unwanted emotion, which is totally a myth. Surely anger brings up your insecurities, anxiety, and discomfort. But anger is meant to make you uncomfortable and anxious, and that is what eventually gonna help you in forming and knowing your boundaries, what your boundaries are. How will you know otherwise? If you question yourself, when do you get angry? You will come up with different answers, but surely the top ones are when you are disappointed or hurt, when you feel betrayed, when somebody has crossed their boundaries, and when you find somebody invading your personal space. And the most important, when you find yourself getting angry, is when you find somebody, when things do not take the turn as you have planned them. When something not goes according to how we see it, according to how we have planned it, that is when we get disappointed and angry, right? Everybody agrees on that, maybe. So, but if you think it carefully, you will realize that these are the things that will make us more stronger and grow as a person if we overcome it. And the anger plays the role of knowing your insecurities and recognizing these issues. Thus, that makes anger a very valid emotion, right? Now the question arises, how do we get angry? How? Why? Surely we never give enough thoughts on this topic, like why do we get angry? Because we get angry all the time. We see people get angry all the time. And it is an emotion somewhat really unwanted, making your disc uncomfortable. And it is kind of emotion that is really embedded in ourselves, in every other human being, every other organism. So we often see people get angrier than they get happy, actually. What is the reason behind it? If we look into it biologically, the blame falls on a small part of the brain called amygdala. The amygdala is one of the two almond-shaped clusters of nuclei located deep and medially within the temporal lobes of the brain's cerebrum. It's a small part in the brain, small part that makes you angry, makes you feel all those emotions. And mainly, it is responsible, what is amygdala responsible for?
It's your memory, decision making, and emotions. Our body is, if we notice, we get angry before we take action. We take action on it. Our body is designed in such a way that our actions overtake our judgment, meaning the work of amygdala is done faster than the cortex, which is responsible for, the cortex is responsible for our thoughts and judgment. As a result, we tend to lose our rational thinking and our judgment of what's happening. We act fast. In order to protect ourselves without calculating the consequences of our action. Sometimes you notice that we speak without thinking twice, right? And then we regret it. We regret it 1,000 times. So instead of regretting it 1,000 times, how about we think twice, just twice before we speak. As a result, I lost it there. Still, it does not give you, this is how it explains how angry we get, how it happens in us. But still, it doesn't give you a free pass to get angry all the time, because no amount of explanation can reason your misbehavior and unjustified anger. The amygdala is one of the most understood and distinguished part in brain of men and women. There is a significant difference in the size of amygdala in male than in females, because males tend to have larger size of amygdala, and thus they are more aggressive. And the frontal lobe of the cerebral cortex is larger in females. Thus, they have more control over emotions, if you see it, if you have noticed it. After that, Kirti will take over. She'll explain.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Kirti, and now by looking the faces of everyone, I'm thinking like almost many of the people are blank. How does this topic is actually related with science journalism? According to me, according to she, this is actually related with science journalism because it talks about psychology. And psychology is a science which actually talks about the facts. And in this article, we have shown the facts about what the people think about, how does people has a myth about the anger. Of course, anger is a bad thing which we have learned from our childhood days. But of course, it is good because it helps a person to because it actually motivates the person and helps a person in developing in several aspects. Now, I would like to talk about why is the letting go of your anger is very important. Now, the important question stands before us, and the answer is much more complicated than we thought it would be. Holding on to anger does not only affect our mental health, but has severe impact on our physical health as well as mental. Physical health, it includes heart attack, anxiety, etc. Of course, there are mental issues also, which it also led a person to get into a depression. And of course, psychology plays a very vital role in it. Now, I would like to tell you that according to a survey and according to a research conducted by Dr. Istad, he stated that, okay, give me a second. He stated that, a person who doesn't get angry very easily, who suppresses their emotions into themselves, they generally suffer more likely to suffer from bronchitis, heart attack, and generally more likely to die earlier than peers who let their anger to be known when other people were annoying itself. So here is the result where we could know the importance of anger. Of course, up to a limit, anger is good, but if it crosses the limit, it is bad. It wears and tears out the person. Of course, if a person gets angry very frequently, people would run from that particular person. So here, another main reason of letting go of your anger, because if a person is getting angry on, very severely, or he is getting angry very frequently, and it's a very bad anger. So, you must be silent upon there, because you must be silent and you must know how to tackle that particular situation. So here are a few tips which we have shown in the, can you please change the slide? Okay. So here we have suggested a few precautions that a person must take, that how to control the bad anger, as you all are aware how a good anger can be. And the another part is how the bad anger can be. So first, the point is, if the issue is too much for you to handle at that particular moment, you can see your rage getting most of you, and it's better to walk out from that particular place. Because if you are heated at that moment, you doesn't know that what you could speak out or what your brain could actually process the information. For example, if I am getting angry and the other person is concerning about me, and I know I'm wrong at that place, and it's actually hurting my ego, and the particular person is saying me to not to do that, and I would actually take it as a negative point rather than taking it as a positive way, because at that time I am very much angry, and according to psychology itself, my happiness hormones are not there, and my amygdala and everything, they starts working in a very opposite manner, and I tend to become a very negative person, and unfortunately I create a mess over there. So it's better to walk out from this situation, or if you cannot walk out, it's better to keep silent at that moment, so that you can have the time to think properly, and then you can actually take your decisions very wisely. Next, get some exercise or any physical activity. It is one of the most important aspects which a person must be doing. Of course, all the doctors and even the surveys, they tells us to do exercise, physical activities, and etc. So my reason being here is to mostly giving importance on physical activity and exercise is because, according to a survey, if a person does physical activity, the good hormones, that is the happiness hormones such as serotonin and dopamine, is released in a particular person. And according to a survey, if a lady does physical activity such as exercise or any kind of physical activity, maybe dance or maybe workout or anything, so the hormone, that is the serotonin and the dopamine, is released much more as compared with the men. So according to the surveys, men are needed with more physical activity and exercises, although women are also in need of exercises, but still men are more focused on this. Next is take time out. That is, you should take breaks, which is very necessary. For example, if a person is working in office 24 from doing day to night shifts, so of course it's very obvious that human nature, that he or she will be getting angry and frustrated. So it's better to take time lapse, some breakouts, so that a person does not get angry at that particular moment. Next, identify your problems and your probable solutions to it. If you actually identify the problem and the solutions to it very calmly, there are chances that you may actually get a solution, very unique one. I'll give you an example. If a person is very angry and you tell him if the water is in front of him and he is angry and he's still telling you that I needed water and banging everything and then I needed water. Even the water is in front of the table, in front of him, he wouldn't see that table. He wouldn't see that water also. That is the thing why a person if he or she is taking that angerness indifferently, and if a person is calm, like if he is silent that moment and he's thinking of, okay, I should think towards, if I'm thirsty, I have to move here and there and then I have to go. So if he or she will look here and there, he will find the water and then of course he will drink that. So according to it, we have to identify the problems and then we have to come to a probable solutions with proper calmness inside it. Next, our government has, central government, they have provided an toll-free number. It is basically on mental health rehabilitation helpline center by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. So here is the toll-free number in the article which we have given, which helps in making aware about the people that, okay, this is the toll-free number, you can contact the people if you have any anger issues or if you have any mental problem. Because in India, we all are aware that in India, there is a lack of mental health issues. If you ask a student, if you ask a person who is suffering from depression or anything, if you ask him to go to consult to a psychologist or a counselor, he will tell you back that, okay, I don't need a psychologist or a counselor. Why? Because there is a lack of awareness of psychology. Not only that, in several aspects, if you generally go and do a survey in the local home of India and you ask about who is a psychologist, who is a counselor, they will tell you that they are the doctors of mental people. Even they are mental, how could they treat you? How could they treat the mental people? This is the actual reality. Yes, it is in India. So through this article, we had a motive of creating the mental awareness among the people and of course telling about the people that how anger is good and how anger is bad. And of course there are people who suppress their anger inside themselves, so making them awareness that instead suppressing yourself, you should express but not in a bad manner. You should express in positive manner by doing something productive or doing something where you could express out your anger. With this, I conclude my words. Thank you.
Just stay there.
Stay back. And if you get angry at our questions, count 10 before answering. Okay?
Sure, sir.
Now, what was the type of presentation you have made as far as this competition is concerned?
So basically, it was a presentation made on an article, but unfortunately, we have not mentioned most of the points, I believe, which we both have mentioned in our...
No, one thing, it is an article or it's a lecture?
It's an article, sir.
It's an article. Then, I think, Kirti, you are right.
Yes, sir.
You told us very good information you have gone and collected. You have understood that and you made an excellent, passed on the information well by talking to us. All those things, are they available in your article?
No, sir.
Only certain points are its own. So
Yes,
then why that gap? You feel that what you explained is necessary for a person to understand the science, journalism or communication you are going to do, or you wanted to tell that something which more you knew? No, it's okay. No, if you want you can answer, but...
Okay. Sir, I believe I can do both the things.
Okay, good.
It's nothing like if I know something, and I know the awareness is very less in that particular area or in that particular country. So it's my duty being as a journalist to make the people much aware about that.
Anyway, one more question. You mentioned bad anger and good anger.
Yes, sir.
Is it a description or something is there in this article?
No, sir, there is no description in the article. That is our fault.
No, it's not your fault. I'm happy that you're able to identify those things. And first time itself, this need not be 100% okay. We are very, very happy you selected a very good topic, collected this information, made a presentation also. We are very happy with you. And I will ask the jury to ask their questions. I wanted some clarification.
Okay, sir.
My question is very simple. Could you have done this write-up even without attending this workshop?
According to me, sir, it was no, because as from the day I have attended this workshop, and the words which I have listened and I have understood, I have learned a better thing. And of course, due to due to the lack of time, and so we have not properly written the article. But yeah, it was according to us, we gave our best. Of course, we have not written everything on the article, but still we came here to tell and to explain what we actually want to explain.
Thank you. You are very quite a diplomatic answer. You didn't answer my question. My question was very simple. Could you have written this article without attending the 2-day workshop?
No, sir.
No.
No.
Then you mean to say that the 2-day workshop has contributed something for this write-up?
Yes, sir.
One last question for you. This last 2 days, whatever lectures you attended, Dr. Nagesh Hegde in his speech showed a picture of his arm, and also at the end of the lecture requested organizers to place something to help the speaker. What does both measure?
Sir, I would like to interrupt. I'm sorry to say, but at that time, sir might be speaking Kannada. That is why I don't remember. Because
no, it was both English and...
No, sir. Actually, he was speaking in Kannada in that time. And we both are not from Bangalore itself. So we doesn't understand Kannada.
Okay, I will give this one to you. Thank you.
You have given the correct title. It's very catchy. However, you have not mentioned why such kind of anger is there in animals. And man being animal, why amygdala is there? And when anger happens, what are the hormones that are going to be secreted? And how actually they affect the different organs of the body, including the psyche? How is that you have not gone into those details in your article?
So I believe we have not gone into that much details, but still we have mentioned most of the basic ideas, that is the amygdala and amygdala and the two happy hormones which we have mentioning over here, that is serotonin and dopamine.
Yeah, you have mentioned about those happy hormones.
Yeah.
Anger hormones, that's
yeah,
important.
Anger hormones, so anger hormones is basically happens when the there is...
You have not even mentioned the anger hormones and its effect on the different vital organs of the body. Unless that information is given, can this be a correct science article?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Can we open it for the audience once the questions from the jury is over?
Yeah.
So, if any question is there, otherwise I am starting. I have some questions. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, I'm Soumya from St. Joseph's College. So you said that anger is great, but once it crosses its limitations, it shouldn't cross its limitations, basically. So do you have any scientific backing of what those limitations are that you mentioned?
To be honest, right now I don't have these scientific everything to prove here. But yeah, I could prove you, because if you will Google it and you will get to, if you will Google it and you will get inside it, you will get a lot of knowledge that how the amygdala plays a very vital role in your anger issues, and how your physical health as well as it plays a very vital role, as well as your hormones inside the body and the external environment. Yes.
No, I meant, what are the limitations that you mean? You said that as long as there are limitations to anger, it works. So what are those scientific limitations?
There are not limitations exactly, but yeah, until and unless it wears and tears your body, until and unless actually, until and unless it wear and tears your body physically, mentally, emotionally, like everything through every aspect, it is a good anger. And of course, there is a point that until and unless you are utilizing that particular anger into a very good thing. For example, if I am angry at a particular thing, for example, I didn't get good marks in my unit test or something like that, and I was getting angry over that. I didn't work on something, and due to that motivation, due to that anger, I'm taking that in positive way, and then I am working on my NSEM exams, and I'm converting that into a very good thing. So I believe, not only I believe, but yes, according to scientists, if you are utilizing it into a very good thing, and until and unless there is no harm into your physical, mental, and emotional stable, then of course there is a limit. Yeah.
So I have two comments. One is from the side of science communication, rather communication. Other is from the side of science, that is cognitive psychology.
Okay, sir.
So first comment is, whenever you are planning something, you should think about a format, in which format you are going to communicate. Like some of the jury members said, are you going for a textbook format, a website format, or a news article format, or an encyclopedia format? But this article don't have a format, first of all.
Okay.
So it's almost like a note. It's a note format. Second point is from the side of science. That is, there are factual errors. Our body is designed in such a way that our actions overtake our judgment, meaning the work of amygdala is done faster than that of the cortex. That's not correct. Because many of our actions are unconsciously automated. Whatever I am speaking is unconsciously automated. It's not controlled by amygdala. Amygdala contributes to that, but I'm choosing the words perfectly, correct?
Yeah.
So it makes sense to you at least. It's an unconscious process, automated process. So, saying that it overtakes the cortex is not correct. That is first thing. Second thing, you say that the size of the amygdala in male and female is different, and that contribute to the variation in the anger and anger.
Yes, sir.
What is the source for that?
Sir, it's mentioned in class 11th NCERT psychology. So if I could refer you from there.
Yeah, but these recent studies, we also work on amygdala in animals. And it's called amygdala pallium in birds and that. So it says that you didn't see the aggression the female organisms also shows. So just think about, just compare the aggression shown by the different people in your network itself and try to segregate that. So there are many other things also contributing to that. So similarly, it's saying that this is contributing the decision. Amygdala mainly handles with the negative emotions.
Yes, sir.
So that is meant a hub for negative emotion. Along not only anger, even with the grief also is connected with that. So you need to fact check everything before you write.
Sure, sir, but this was a fact according to us because we have read in psychology class 11th NCERT textbook. And there is a point written there that men's, they tend to become much more angry as compared with women because there is a change in the amygdala, size of the change in the amygdala.
No, that we'll have to check with the recent literatures. Because individual variation happens, correct?
Yes, sir, but according to us, we thought that it was a fact because we have read and we gave the exam, so yeah.
But you have to be careful when you are going to send it.
Sure, sir, we'll work on that. Thank you.
Firstly, I would really like to thank everyone, and your questions and comments actually helped us in realizing what our mistakes were, and we'll definitely take that into note when we are going to present something next time. Thank you so much.
Team 2 from Jyoti Nivas College. Yeah. ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಯ್.
Okay.
Good afternoon to everyone present here. We're from Jyotinivas. I'm Amrita. This is Jennifer. And we will be talking about the topic Okay, so we will be talking about the topic how to get away with murder. How to get away with murder like a pro. So the medium that we've used is one, we've made a blog post, and the second one, those are the printouts that we have given to you. The other one is Instagram. We've used the media Instagram, and all that's been presented on stage, the video will be converted into pictures and they'll be posted. So we're promoting science through Instagram and digital marketing it. So we'll give the basics on Instagram, and then the caption will be like, read more at our blog post.
Can we dim the lights?
Yep. This is Nancy. Nancy is a picture in the printouts, by the way. Nancy wrote an essay about 20 years ago titled How to Murder Your Husband. Nancy is currently in trial for murdering her husband. Don't be like Nancy. You're probably wondering how. We're going to show you how. Before we get into the whole getting into murder part, let's figure out how crime is actually identified and investigated and how forensic science actually works.
So now the question here is, what exactly is forensic science? The Merriam-Webster dictionary medically defines forensic science as the application of scientific principles and techniques to matters of criminal justice, especially as relating to the collection, the examination, and analysis of physical evidence. In other words, forensic science is the use of science in the field of law, essentially using scientific methods to analyze evidence of a scene that is then later used in court proceedings.
Now, let's assume there's a death. And there's a dead body lying on the floor with white markings and yellow tape all around the good. You know, there's white markings and there's yellow tapes. There are cops everywhere assessing the scene, talking to witnesses. Then you see a cool person walking in shades with a fedora hat, slapping on some surgical gloves. That's a forensic scientist. But what does a forensic scientist do?
Step 1, determine if a crime was committed at all. Not all deaths are crimes, but every death scene is a potential crime scene until proven otherwise. Whether it's sorry, my bad. Okay, so whether it's a butter knife or your fry pan or even that mascara spool that you left on your table this morning. Sounds illogical, but it's true. Every death scene, every object at the death scene is a crime evidence until proven otherwise. Step 2.
Step 2, secure the scene. According to Lockhart's exchange principle, every contact leaves a trace, meaning that every person that enters or exits the scene adds or subtracts material from the scene. The logic behind this principle allows investigators to link trace evidence to suspects, to victims, and to scenes. So, don't go grab a cookie on the counter. Associate evidence links a person to the scene, for example, fingerprints, blood, bodily fluid, hair, and etc. This ultimately answers the question, who done it? Reconstructive evidence points to the action that took place at the scene, for example, broken windows, blood splatters, bullet parts, etc. This answers the question, how did it happen? Step 3, conduct a primary walkthrough.
An initial survey of the scene is conducted to prioritize evidence collection. A detailed record is taken, which includes the time of the day, the weather, the initial photographs of the scene, smell, temperature, position of movable furniture, the position of shades and doors, etc. Step 4, process the scene.
This is probably by far the most important in forensic science and crime investigation. All probative evidence is collected. Bloodstains. Blood behaves according to certain scientific principles. Therefore, it is possible to analyze evidence and draw conclusions on how the blood may have been shed. Pattern analysts gather information from splatter patterns, transfers, and voids to recreate the action that caused the bloodshed. Using the principles of biology, blood behavior, physics, collision and velocity, and mathematics, geometry, distance and angle, and trigonometry, it is possible to answer the questions, where did the blood come from? What were the wounds caused? The position of the victim and the perpetrator? Does it match the witness statements? The blood is also collected for DNA profiling. Speaking of DNA is a set of repeating patterns, short tandem repeats, which differ from one person to another. The STRs can be measured and then define the DNA profile of an individual. DNA is a powerful tool of physical evidence that links the victim or the perpetrator to the scene. Nowadays, DNA has become such a boom, even though it just started in 1980s. People now want every crime investigation to have a DNA profile. DNA profile is probably the most trustworthy evidence in crime investigation. Last but not least, fingerprints. Fingerprints are unique. Even though identical twins have the same DNA, their fingerprints are different. And they're permanent. That means they do not change throughout life. In absence of DNA, fingerprints can verify the offender's identity. Latent prints, a finger's oils and sweat are deposited onto a surface and are detected using fingerprint powder and lifted using clear tape. They are also photographed. Other evidences like firearms, photographs, trace evidence, digital evidence, footwear are all documented and collected. Step 5, assess the body.
At this point, we probably know why it's very important to wear gloves. Not only because of corona, but, obviously, common sense. Anyway, step 5, right. A highly detailed victim description is created. Blood coagulation, body contortion, rigor mortis, and body temperature can infer the time of death. Signs of decomposition, wounds, bruises are also taken in note to infer the cause of death. So next time when you have road rage and try to actually bruise somebody, remember that will actually count in the court. Step 6, finally, you transport the body for autopsy. Autopsy is a careful inspection of the body. The physical appearance is documented. The injuries are noted. X-rays are also taken to look for any broken bones or lodged bullets. The internal organs are examined and weighed. Tissue samples, blood, and urine samples are taken to be tested for drugs, and this falls under drug chemistry. The brain is also carefully examined because the brain lives for 8 minutes after death. After cataloging the issue and organ samples, the organs are placed back and the body is closed for funeral purposes. So no matter how much the person, kind of messes with the body, tinkers with the body, no matter how much they use the cadaver, open it up, they can always cover it back. That's the skill and the mark of a forensic scientist. The fact that they can actually clean up their evidence. One of the very important reasons why they're also a very important suspect in a crime, because they can get away with it. An official report on the cause and matter of death is prepared, and the investigation is taken to court from there. Now, the most important topic of our entire presentation. Now that we know that how a crime investigation takes place, let's talk about how to get away with murder. Because obviously, we all need it. Long story short, you can't. You can't get away with murder. We are too advanced in science to do that. So the moral of the story is don't waste your time on murdering people. It's illegal, and it's also a waste of your time. One second.
Any questions from any of the jury members?
Thank you for a very good presentation. I would like to know, you have mentioned in Secure the Scene, Locard's exchange principle. Suddenly that principle name has come.
Okay, so essentially...
Now, how do you, as a science journalist or reporter, how do you make that clear to the intended audience that what exactly it is? Or can you do without mentioning that particular context of reference?
The particular word, right? Locard. Okay, so if I was writing it in that way, I would say that, so step 2, secure the scene. Yellow tapes are put around the scene to avoid any kind of contamination and evidence, because evidence does leave whether you leave or exit the scene. So even when the professionals are coming and entering the scene, it is all documented. So I would mention it in that way rather than mentioning the principle itself.
How did you come to this particular topic? That was in your mind?
No, actually, for 2 days, we spent thinking on so many topics. We were thinking about crystal healing. We were thinking about astronomy from monumental science. And we wanted something which would be different, be something which would actually enjoy talking about. And I think yesterday night, at midnight, we were like, chalo, let's do murder. And yeah, let's do murder.
I believe because at that point we were actually contemplating murder.
Yeah.
Good.
We were extremely
tired.
But
we were like time to murder someone.
So we were like, why not?
Why not?
What about the literature survey you have done for arriving at this particular article?
That happened at 3 in the morning.
No, have you given the reference of where you have, the reference of how you have got this information?
The bibliography, right?
So when we posted on our blog, we will officially cite all references we have used.
You have referred certainly.
Yes, yes, we have saved everything. This is we've used this style of writing because it's a blog post. This writing will not be possible in print media, so we'll be citing all the references, and even in the post and everything, we'll be doing that.
You have started with a very good example of Nancy, who murdered her husband and was jailed for 20 years.
Yeah.
If you had taken how actually that murder was unraveled, that would have been a very interesting article. Actually, looking at the content you have written, it looks as if it is an introduction of forensic science textbook. You may get angry. I am telling the point.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from. So the thing is, we thought about talking about Nancy, but then we can't really come to a solidified conclusion because the trial is still under process. It's still ongoing. So that is why we decided that, we'll just cite her as an example of what you should actually not do. So
even if that is the case, if you had taken some other case which has been completely exposed and judgment is given, then it would have been very attractive article. Okay, you have made a good attempt.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Maybe next
time.
workshop.
Yeah, good attempt.
Thank you so much.
But in the very first slide, you have put something. This is different from forensic psychology. What was the need for inserting that item?
So often, in our line of education, we're psychology students as well. So what we have often noticed is people confuse forensic science with forensic psychology, when in fact they're two very vast, different, fields of study.
Could you just point out two differences?
Okay, so people who are scientists, that forensic scientists, they have a degree in either chemistry or biology, or they have an MD in some sort of science subject. Psychologists can do BA as well, right? Like we're doing psychology, and we can take masters forensic science. Second is that forensic psychologists deal more with the mindset of the victim and the perpetrator, whereas the forensic science is trying to find out evidence of what really happened. And a forensic psychologist cannot do that because they don't have the ability to do that as well. They're not qualified to do that.
Good, very good. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Yeah.
Hello, sir.
So, good work. How long you are doing this blogging? Huh.
Okay, so when we first came, Jyotinivas, our teacher said that, throw your textbook, I want blog. And they said you have to maintain a blog. And so every time they give assignments, we put it on our blog page. So we both have individual blogs.
Okay.
If this is good, we'll be able to put it up on our blog.
Yeah, this is good. So only one suggestion, two of which already the jury said. One is adding some references when you are talking about something scientific.
Definitely.
Second suggestion, it's my personal suggestion, you can take it or not. That is one of the jury said, you came to a conclusion, but in between there is one step is missing, that is law. How law and police will be handling this information generated. Okay, so this is called the mental model development. So you build the mental model of the forensic science and what the forensic scientists do. Then obviously it should move to the next level, that is law, police, then court, then saying that, you may be punished. So then just say, this is not going to happen.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying. We had that information. Because it was a science workshop, we thought, okay, let's focus on science. But we will include, let's say, lawyers and psychologists and policemen, as you said, because there's a lot more than just forensic science in a crime investigation.
It's not only science, it's science communication.
Yes. So I believe what we would take this suggestion and we'll probably make a part 2, part 3 on our blogs. So yeah, we'll probably circulate the link once we have the blog, and then
please look at it.
Please look at it and provide us some more suggestion.
Some feedback.
Yes.
Oh, wait, we have a question back here.
Yes, please.
So what kind of audience is your article
We mainly focused it on college, so professors and teachers and students, and even the language that's used is more towards the young audience, young to middle.
So you think young people want to get away with murder?
No, but in the end, we're saying that we're not going to do murder. Murder is illegal. Don't do it. Waste of time.
You may want to, but you can't.
You can't do it because science is advanced. Are you thinking of murdering someone?
I'm just going to give it to her.
I mean, it's pretty harsh. I mean, murder is a very strong word, though. But like, what was this article
So you want
exactly?
to slightly poke them with a knife, is it?
I don't want to do any kind of violence, actually. I mean,
Good for you.
Yes, you were telling?
Yeah, so what exactly was the article targeting, though? Like, telling me not to do murder, because that's pretty I mean, it's pretty understandable, right?
And yet we have a lot of murderers, no?
We wanted to do this one because, you know, there are a lot of shows like Crime Patrol, and they say autopsy is 160-minute thing. Actually, it takes more like 2 days. And if someone just gave you blatant knowledge of forensic science, you're not going to read it. You're just going to read one paragraph and you're like, okay, I'm done, time to eat my cookie. So we wanted to first attract people like, okay, how do you get away with murder? And in the end, show that, oh, this is what, let's talk about what happens when you murder someone, then we'll know how to get away from it. Okay. And in the end, it's more like, okay, there's so much, and you'll kind of like lose it, like, no, wait, I can't do it because so much of science advancements are there.
So it was more like a case study, like informing people what
It was
exactly
more like
goes down after murdering
basically,
somebody.
our main idea was to like kind of inform people the basics of forensic science, because everyone thinks it's like, you know, you just dust some powder and, you know, that's how you figure out who it is. That's not what it is. There's so much more at it. So, but we wanted to take like a fun approach towards it, I suppose, and that's why, you know, we chose something in contrast to what we're actually trying to say.
Okay, thank you.
One more question.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, the next participant, team number 9, BMS College of Women.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Shivani, and she's my friend Kaustubha. We are from BMS Women's College. So today we are gonna talk about food. Yes, food. Everyone loves food, right? If I'm not wrong, everyone is like, who eats food? So we choose this topic, and good food is good mood. So food definitely enhances our mood, and food is like very basic thing. Every living organism needs food, right? So yeah, and we are mainly speaking about Indian cuisines. So our India, we are parted by diversities of cultures, but we are united by food, right? Because we want to taste like all the types of food. And yes, we are united by diversity of cuisines. So what makes our Indian food special? Anyone wanna try? Like, how is our Indian food differentiable from other? I mean, Indian cuisine. Yes. I'm gonna say spices. We use lots of spices, and it makes the food extremely tasty and differentiable from others, right? It would be more, we use more spices, herbs, and all to enhance the taste. And even while talking about food, it's mouth-watering. It's actually like an human interest topic. And Indian cuisine is among top 10 popular cuisine in the world. So, and also lately it has begun to be categorized as unhealthy because our food has started linking up with sugar, high carbs. So it is leading, like, because of that, it is contributing to higher cholesterol. So it is even being categorized as unhealthy food. So according to some study, Indian food is the world's happiest food. Yes, Indian food is the world's happiest food. Yes, thanks for that. We need an applause for this, I guess. Yeah. And it also increases happiness by whopping 83%. Indian food also increases happiness by 83%. We have researched it. We have took this information from internet. This is according to a study, and yes. So my friend will be talking more about this.
Thank you, Shivani. So when we talk about Indian food, we are supposed to, actually the most important part in the Indian food is the myths. So I think without the myths, there's no Indian food or the food habits. So when it comes to the myths of Indian food, we probably, even you guys will be knowing it, like there's a saying, like they say the organic food is very healthy. But when you go through deeply into this topic, you will get to know that when you compare organic food and non-organic food, the nutrition content you get is the same in both the organic and non-organic. But the thing is, the organic food is good to the nature, but there's no difference that it makes to our body or the nutrition consumption that our body needs. And when it comes to another myth, which is very much prevailing, that the cooked vegetables are not good for health. People prefer eating raw vegetables. So what I say is, eating raw vegetables or eating cooked vegetables is both the same, because only the cooked vegetables are probably easy to be digested or something, but there's no difference in that too. So, and it's not scientifically proved or something. And there's one trending myth about food on YouTube or Instagram or any social media that we come across, is that apple cider vinegar burns your calories. It's helpful in maintaining your fitness, or it's helpful in becoming slim. But that is one of the biggest myth which you all can see on the social media platforms, because apple cider vinegar is something which like makes your cravings for desserts or makes your cravings for sugar go less. But it has no role to play in burning your calories or making you slim. So, and then when it comes to vitamin A or the eyesight, people say you got to consume more carrots if you need a good eyesight. Or if you see any person who has high power, or they say, why you don't eat carrot? So that is actually, they say it sarcastically. But thing is, carrots have not much role to play in having a good eyesight. So, and we also, when we see that, they say gastric is most probably caused by high consumption of chilies. But chilies have no role to play in increasing your gastric or you getting ulcers. Chilies don't make it. The bacteria or the bacteria are the reason where you develop ulcers or you get gastric. But chilies are something actually good for your health. And when it comes to Western science of food, the Western science considers food as something that sustains the human body. But whereas when it comes to the Indian science, they consider food as something which not only sustains your body, but also maintains the purity of your heart, your mind, and your soul. And also, in the Indian science, they say that a food item, you shouldn't consider, you shouldn't consume a food item only because you need good health physically. But we also give importance for the mental health. They also say that there is a saying in the Indian science that you're not supposed to, like, you shouldn't just eat food for the sake of your fitness or something, but you should also have food that gives you happiness, that's like mentally. So, yeah. So I conclude that the scientific reasons behind the food, when we deeply go through and understand the reasons, probably it will be helpful to break all the myths and have a good foodie heart. Thank you.
Yeah, and as my friend said that about the myths, I want to talk about this. Organic food is healthy. Yes, we have heard, we have read about it, we have heard about it when people say organic food is healthy. Then let me ask you something. What is you are eating some junk food and considering organic food as healthy and binge eating this organic food, and there is no point, right? There should be a limitation. Everything is like, there is a saying, when it is excess, even elixir turns to into poison, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, even consumption, we will consider organic food as healthy, and will think consuming more of organic food doesn't affect our health. But this is not the right thing. Anything should be consumed in limitation so that it can be good for our health. And yes, cooked vegetables have lesser nutrients content than raw ones. When compared to cooked, why do we do not eat raw vegetables? Why do we tend to cook them? Because it will be it makes digestion simpler. It is complex, eating raw vegetables and all. So we make the process simpler by cooking them. And chilies, we have heard it like many times that don't eat more chilies, spice and all. You'll be getting gastric and ulcers. But it is not that. Actual reason for gastric or ulcers is the bacteria and not the chilies. Of course, you can have it. And yes, by the time we are doing our presentation, many of us might be thinking, oh, how long are gonna take? And it's time for food, and what we are gonna have for lunch, is it? And we all do think about our next meals and yeah, what we are gonna have for breakfast. Then after our breakfast, we are gonna think about the lunch, and after our lunch, what are we gonna snack, and then dinner. So food is what everyone enjoy. Yes, and if we can just make our day better with some good food. Yes, so thank you.
Your title is quite interesting.
Thank you.
But I have one basic doubt. You see, you remember in the workshop, in fact, incidentally, I made a presentation where I raised a particular point. Creating doubts in the minds of the people, or sow the seeds of doubts in the minds of the people. That is one of the very simple techniques most of the business houses use. You say here, in the number one myth is the organic food is healthy. You call that a myth. I don't have any objection. when you call organic food a myth, now that must be substantiated. There must be some kind of a substantiation in your this thing. Otherwise, what I will think is it is obviously made by people who are into the junk food field. So whenever you make a claim in the science communication, it is the responsibility of the science journalist to come up with convincing evidences. We are speaking about only evidence-based science. Now, without evidence, you make certain claims. No, that only results in creating the doubt. That is not a good science communication. Okay, I mean, I'm only making certain points.
We'll definitely correct it.
Therefore, all your myths, whatever the myths you have, obviously you have picked up this information from somewhere.
Yes,
obviously, if you start searching, now we were referring to the cherry picking of data. I will pick up only such data. For example, I'll make a conclusion that organic food is unhealthy. Then I will pick up only such data which will reinforce my judgment even before going into the details. Now, that you need to avoid. I would have been happy. No, I don't have any objection if you call these myths, but you must substantiate that one, that's all.
Yeah. While exposing the myths, you must support with the scientific evidences. Here you have mentioned that the ulcer, for the ulcer it is the bacteria. It is not just the bacteria. A good number of reasons are there. All those points you have to mention. And finally, you should also mention the advantages of taking chili, not just for taste or just because it is hot. A good number of positive reasons are there. It increases the sweating.
It protects and repairs the stomach lining.
It increases the consumption of water, which is very important in the places where the temperature is very hot. Okay, such scientific evidences you have to quote while busting the myths. Thank you.
Thank you. It's open to Mr. Binoy and public.
Yes, sir.
This is a magazine page format.
Yes, sir.
For a magazine page format, you have to format it in that way. And second thing, like one of the jury said, it should be evidence-based because you say that, and when you say that, that's why I asked them, how do you define Indian food? Because Indian food is an ocean, correct? Yes. So it contains that much diversity, starting from roti dal to the feast of Rajdhani where you will be getting. So such kind of studies when you are quoting, you should be very careful. And second thing is, one more point I noticed is, when you write this kind of article, we suggest one thing that is called flip test. Means, you may have a bias towards certain arguments. So when you start writing that, after writing it, stop there, then go to the shoes of the person who will be opposing it. Yes. So then, in the initial level, you will be getting both arguments. Then you can tell the suggestions, but both arguments should come there. When if there is no solid decision on that, correct? If it's not converted into a perfect scientific fact, if there is doubts, both arguments should come there. So think about flip test and format whenever you do the next words.
Sure.
Any other questions?
You mentioned this. According to some studies, Indian food gives 80% happiness. Would you like to say which study, like how would you claim this? From which research work are you claiming this point? Because there are lots of myths circulating in the internet, and how would you validate your article on some article? Is the same as saying your national anthem is pronounced best national anthem in the world according to UNESCO?
So we are not exactly sure about the study, but we have researched about it, and we found that there is a study which is like stating it as an happiest food, and like most of us can relate to it, so we have considered it as a point. We are not sure. We got it from our sources, internet. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So are we breaking for the lunch? We'll break for lunch. Okay, so just after the talk on food, let's break for the lunch.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the announcement. The lunch is arranged in the HN Kalakshetra. Please assemble there.
ವಿಜಯ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಇನ್ನೂ ಟೈಮ್ ಇದೆ ಆಯಿತಾ. ಸೊ ಲಂಚ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಓಕೆ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಎನ್ ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಾಲ್ ದಿ ಅದರ್ ಟೀಮ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. participating?